All right, picture this for a second. Imagine you find out your own family has, well, erased you. And I don't just mean they stopped calling. I mean they've wiped you from legal existence. Today we are diving into an absolutely wild story of betrayal, fraud, and a final showdown that is so dramatic you'd think it was straight out of a movie.
Yep, that's exactly what the bank record said. The file was closed. The inheritance already being sent somewhere else. As far as the official paperwork was concerned, his life was over. Financially, legally, done. So, if he's dead, who's the guy that just walked into the manager's office? You see, this whole thing, it all comes down to one man's unbelievable fight to prove something pretty basic, that he was in fact still alive, even when his own parents were doing everything they could to prove he wasn't.
Okay, so to really get the sheer shock on that bank manager's face, we have to go back. We've got to rewind to the very beginning, to the exact moment this whole kind of chilling scheme got started.
So the road to that crazy showdown in the bank, it all kicked off with one really strange phone call. From there, a bunch of, digital breadcrumbs started to pop up, and that's what unraveled this massive fraud. And it all led, of course, to that one big confrontation. Every story has that one moment where everything changes. And for this one, it wasn't some big family fight or a screaming match. No, it was this really cold, almost clinical announcement. Felt less like sharing bad news and more like a judge handing down a sentence.
So it's 7 o'clock in the morning. The phone rings. It's his father on the other end. But, this isn't the kind of call you'd expect. There's no sympathy, no shared sadness. It's just this incredibly cold, matter-of-fact announcement.
Now, just think about that word choice for a second. A verdict. I mean, that's a legal term, right? It's about judgment, about a final decision being made. It's like the case is closed. So this wasn't just, hey, I have some sad news. This was a declaration, a statement that everything was now settled, whether the son had any clue what was going on or not.
So, okay, how do you even begin to uncover something this messed up? Well, you know that feeling when something is just off? You start digging. And in this story, the first clues, they didn't come from a private eye. They came from a very, very modern source.
He starts getting these little pings on his phone, fraud alerts from the bank. There's weird activity, attempts to get into funds that were supposed to be safe and sound in his grandfather's trust. These little digital warnings, they were the first loose threads he could grab onto. The first real sign that his inheritance, and honestly, his whole identity, was under attack.
And once he started pulling on those threads, wow, the whole thing just came apart. It turns out his parents had actually gone to the bank and told them he was dead. They'd apparently forged documents so they would be the only ones to get the trust money. The goal was simple: get everything. And they were convinced they had this perfect, unbeatable legal weapon to make sure he could never, ever challenge them.
So, what was this perfect weapon they thought they had? Well, let's talk about the legal shield they were hiding behind. It's a pretty common thing you find in wills and trusts, and they were counting on it to shut their son up for good.
It's basically a legal threat baked right into the document. The clause pretty much says, hey, if you dare take this to court and challenge anything in here, you get absolutely nothing. Poof, you're out. It's usually put there to stop families from fighting over money, but in this case, the parents turned a tool meant for peace into their ultimate weapon. This was supposed to be their checkmate. And this is where things get really interesting, because it sets up the whole battle. See, the parents thought the fight was about the trust, and they had their no contest clause as a shield. But, and this is the critical part, that clause is only for arguing about the contents of a legitimate will. It's not a get-out-of-jail-free card for committing a crime to steal the whole thing. Things like fraud and forgery, they just make the whole thing invalid. It's like, you can't use a rule inside a contract to protect yourself after you've already broken the law to create that contract in the first place. So, knowing all that, how did our guy turn the tables? Well, he didn't just get mad, he got strategic. He put together this really smart step-by-step plan to get back not just his inheritance, but literally his own life.
Yeah, he didn't just rush in. First things first, he got a lawyer. Smart move. Then he gathered up all that evidence, the bank alerts, everything. And then came the masterstroke. He planned a face-to-face confrontation. All of this before taking that final step of going to the authorities.
And that, right there, brings us full circle back to that bank manager's office. Just imagine the scene again.
All the paperwork is done, the money is being moved, the son is, on paper, gone. And then the office door swings open.
That's the exact line his lawyer dropped. The dead man was sitting right beside me. Can you even imagine being in that room? The manager looks at the death certificate, then looks at the very much alive guy sitting in the chair, and back again. In that single instant, the whole lie, the entire scheme, just completely fell apart. Reality just walked in the door.
So this whole wild story really makes you think, doesn't it? It kind of forces you to ask a tough question. How well do you really know what's in your own family's financial documents? I mean, this shows that being careful isn't about not trusting people, it's about protecting yourself. Because sometimes, as we've just seen, the biggest dangers can come from the people you'd never expect.